Hello and welcome to the Gratitude and Growth Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Mittich. I am an actor, a yoga instructor, a former ballet dancer, but above all, I am a wildly curious person. So I've spent the past several years researching and studying human behavior, why we do what we do, who and what we innately are, what my purpose is on this planet. And I'm here to share the insights and the tools that curiosity has led me to uncover, in hopes of helping you to navigate the inevitable ups and downs of your own life, and in hopes of inspiring you to become the person that you have always wanted to be. So pull up a chair or go for a walk, hop on that treadmill or go for a drive, and join me as I explore what it is to be a human being in this lifetime.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode. Solo episode again today. And today I want to dive into presence. So I read this quote once and it really hit me. And it went something like, presence, a word so overused and so rarely embodied. And it hit me because I think that's super true. And I mean, I use the word presence all the time as well. And how often, especially when it gets busy in life, how often do I actually return to presence? So I first want to talk about what presence is and how I was introduced to this concept. So the first book on spiritual enlightenment that I ever read was The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. In this book, as the title suggests, the power of now, the now being the present moment. This book opened up my eyes to so many things. First, it made me realize that my thoughts weren't me. It made me realize what the present moment was. And it made me realize it was my first glimpse into the separation of the egoic mind from who I was. If you haven't read this book, I really, really highly recommend that you do. I've also been told by people recently, especially, that the audiobook version, hearing Eckhart Tolle speak it himself, is quite a journey on its own. I'm just not the biggest fan of audiobooks. Not yet. Anyway, I prefer to actually read. And I read this book, I reread it probably once a year, if not more often than that. It's something that I always come back to because his words are they just hit you. At least they hit me, and they hit me in a way that resonates, and it immediately brings me to presence. So what is presence? What is the now? The now is this moment, right now. As you're hearing me speak, wherever you are right now. For me, it's here, sitting in front of my microphone, my laptop in front of me, the sun behind it, this moment right now. A lot of the times, our brain lives in the future. We're either thinking about the future as something better or worse than this moment right now, or we're thinking about the past, about something good that happened or bad that happened. But we so rarely consciously live in the present moment of the now. We've all had glimpses of this. So for me, I used to have these glimpses in nature. Like when I'd see something beautiful, my mind would shut off, right? We all have that. Like your mind just shuts up for a moment and you're just here. This happens a lot too, I read, in life-threatening emergency situations. Your mind shuts off and you become very present. I was also reading an interesting article how, a lot of people who do very extreme sports, I don't want to use the word addicted, because there was a time where I loved to travel and I loved to do challenging hikes and things like that. And I didn't do it for this reason, but people can get addicted to the present moment because one of the easiest ways to be present is to be doing something very extreme. But I'm also here to tell you that you can just be present every single moment of every day if you choose to be. I'm not there yet. I'm going to be honest. I've had wild waves with presence where sometimes it's like weeks where I'm more present than not. But then sometimes the mind takes over, and I'm finding and understanding the balance between using my mind when I need to live in this world and to being present when I can. And so if you take a moment right now and just think about, like, have you ever been present? Try to be present right now. When you're present, your mind doesn't work. It's quiet. And you just are right now. Can you just be? Right. That is presence. And here's the thing. The present moment is all you actually have. The future doesn't exist. It's a figment of your imagination, and the past doesn't exist either. When you think, if you say, oh, Sarah, but this event is happening. My birthday is in 2 weeks. It exists. Nope, it doesn't. Your birthday will exist in the moment of the now at that time. But life is just a series of the moment of the now. This moment, and then this moment, and then this moment. This moment right now was different than when I started recording this episode, but it's still forever the moment of the now. I hope I'm communicating this in a way. It's very interesting to talk about presence. I can talk about it with people, but if I try to explain it to somebody who's never heard the term before, this is the best that I could come up with. That is what presence is. We are not our minds. We are not the thoughts going on in our heads, the labels that our mind needs to make to survive. That is our egoic mind. Who we are innately is underneath all of that. And when you sit in that, when you sit in the seat of the observer, as some practices call it, that is not only presence, that is your true state. For me, gratitude, present moment gratitude drops me into immediate presence. And for me, presence feels like peace. There's a relief. Because in the present moment, problems do not exist. Eckhart Tolle says this as well. And the first time I read it, it's the thing that stuck with me. And he says, anxiety is living in the future. Depression is living in the past. Peace is living in the present moment. There are no problems in this moment. And I understand, but I can't pay my bills next month. And I'm stressed about this assignment, and I'm stressed about this audition. Those problems don't actually exist right now. For me, when I'm spiraling out and the problems seem endless, the more often I return to the now, the more I am flooded with solutions and inspirations and downloads to solve those problems or to bring whatever I need. Because when you're in the present moment, you're connected to something greater than just you. And that's probably another conversation that I'll have on here about faith, and faith is important to me, but it's beyond just faith and trust. It's an actual knowing of being connected to something greater than you when you're in the present moment. Present moment is awareness. When you're working on yourself in terms of personal development, awareness is key, because you need to know, oh, I'm being triggered right now, or, oh, this is a default behavior that I do when I'm threatened, and, oh, this is a moment I'm choosing fear. And with personal development, the past is handy because, yes, you can analyze it, right? You can analyze those behaviors and realize when you chose what and realize what you want to work on. However, at some point, if you're just living in the past of what you keep wanting to change and watching yourself show up and keep making the same choices instead of changing, at some point, you need to step into the present moment so that you can build present moment awareness, so that you pause before you react and say something you don't want to. You pause when you get triggered by something. It's very interesting for me. I study a lot between everything across the mind, body, soul spectrum. Personal development, mindset methods, body, embodied work, nervous system, breath work, and then spiritual, the soul, faith, oneness, connection. And sometimes I don't even know if I'm more on the mindset stuff, if I'm more on the soul stuff. And to be honest with you, I'm all of them. But they all use different terms to explain the same thing. So like for me, presence, the seat of the observer, and awareness are all the same thing. When you're sitting in the seat of the observer, you're sitting behind all the noise of your body, behind the thoughts, behind the emotions, and you exist there. This, for me, is also the place of awareness in the personal development world, of having awareness of what you're feeling and what is going on. And then presence, which I've already been talking about. All of this is talking about the same place that exists underneath everything. I have an episode in season 1, I think it's called You Are Not Your Mind. And I dive into this. And that place, the seat of the observer, the awareness, the presence, the more often you can come back to this place, especially when you're getting triggered, especially when you're getting hit by things, the more peace you will experience in your life. Because presence truly is peace, and that is why it's so powerful. It is so powerful to be able to witness your own thoughts and emotions as separate than you, because they are separate than you. Your emotions are not you. Your thoughts are not you. And if you can sit in the seat of the observer and witness the chaos that sometimes comes, then you can separate yourself from it and you don't let it take you over. And you don't become a reactive monster towards other people or towards yourself. When I discovered presence, I discovered what a tormentor my thoughts were and how much suffering my thoughts actually created in my life. You get to decide what thoughts you give weight and importance to. I don't know if you've ever thought about that. Haha. But you get hit with thousands of thoughts every single day. You get to decide which ones are important and which ones aren't. And usually we latch onto fear-based ones because, again, that's just our society. We're so conditioned to choose fear because it's easier and safer and it's what we're used to. We're not conditioned to just let the fear-based thoughts go away and live in peace. And that's not, to say anything against our mentors and parents and teachers. They tried to teach us the best they can, but they just taught us what they know. And I'm so grateful to see more and more of this being brought to light these days, but we still have a long way to go. I mean, look at the shape of the world. We still have a long way to go, because if more people were living in presence, the world would not be in the state that it's in. Simply put, there is a sacredness when you're just sitting in the seat of the observer, when you're just sitting in a place of awareness. I don't know if you've ever just had a moment outside in nature where you just looked at the trees and you listened to the wind rustling through the leaves and you just saw the beauty and the expansiveness around you. When you really feel those moments, your brain can't actually feel the beauty in them. That's why the brain shuts off. The beauty, the sacredness of all of that is only felt by your own presence and your own awareness. When we're not present, we're usually very restless, very antsy. There's like this layer of discontent and unease always playing in the back of our minds. And presence is a super cool thing because it's like having white noise in the background all the time. When you suddenly give attention to presence, give attention to the now, You see and hear the white noise for what it is. That unease, that discontent that you might always be feeling there, that antsiness, that's actually not your steady state. That's just you in survival mode. When you're living in presence, you're not in survival mode at all, because presence doesn't need anything. When you're truly present, you feel complete, you feel whole, and you feel here. It's only our ego, our egoic mind, that thinks it needs other things for validation, for completeness, for wholeness. Another way I know I'm not present is when I'm waiting for things. This was a big one for me. I remember when I first read the book. Are you waiting? Are you waiting for a better future? Are you waiting for that event in a week, a month, a year? Are you waiting for something to be happy? Are you waiting for someone to be happy? Or are you peaceful, joyful, content right now as you are? That's why, one of the best exercises for presence is what I call be where your feet are. When you're waiting in line at the grocery store, put the phone away. What are your thoughts doing? Can you just be in the line at the grocery store and look at the people around you and fully bring your attention there? Because here's the thing. The moment you realize you aren't present, you become present, even if it's only for a few seconds. Even if it only offers you 30 seconds of no mind. That is a huge win. And that's how you continuously build this muscle. So whenever you can notice that you lost time, do you know what I mean? Like you're in the grocery store and then suddenly you're in your car and you're like, whoa, that was half an hour and I was barely there because you were thinking about so many different things. The moment you can notice that your mind and your thoughts are taking over is the moment that awareness comes in, is the moment you sit in the seat of the observer. Here's another really cool thing. I'm going through this thing right now where I'm really beginning to learn and study about time and how time is vertical and not horizontal. And I'm going to save that for when I have words. I don't have words for it yet. But if anybody has any good books on time, please send them my way because I'm doing a deep dive right now. But what I do know from my own experience is when you are living in the present moment, time does not exist. It stops. Literally, it stops existing. And you realize that moment to moment, now to now, is all that actually exists. And I used to wonder, but what about goals? What about having goals that you want to fulfill? Like I have goals, career goals, personal goals I want to fulfill. And I've realized that, yes, have the goals, absolutely have the goals, but A, do not be tied up in the outcome of those goals. B, have the goal, but really it's about the present moment that you're in your journey to the goal. This is what they mean, right? By it's about the journey, not the destination. It's about each step of the hike, not the summit. If you're just seeking and waiting and seeking and waiting for that future goal, you're never going to be fulfilled. No matter if you get it, if you don't get it, no matter if it brings you millions of riches or whatnot, you will never be fulfilled. Because here's the thing, there is nothing to do except to be. And to be is to be present. And that doesn't mean that your life doesn't have any purpose. Your life has a lot of purpose. But your purpose is within you. Your purpose is to be as present as possible to this life. Your purpose is to be here and experience every single moment to the fullest. Your purpose isn't living in 6 months from now, a year from now, when I get married, when I have the kids, when I have that job. Your purpose is right now. For me, when I'm present, this is how I feel. And look, this is so important. And I say this a lot, but this is only my experience, right? I never want you to live from my experience. I want you to live from your own. But when I'm present, okay, I feel peace. Like I'm going to put both my feet on the ground right now. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to get really present. Suddenly, I feel joy and peace rush up to my heart center. My vision takes in so much more around the room. I don't feel happy. So I've stopped really using that word because I'm realizing that happy is still like an emotion of sorts. For me, I use joy and peace because those feel different somehow. But I feel joy, I feel peace, I feel calm. My mind is quiet. I feel relief. I feel so still. And I feel here. When I'm present, I really slow down. I can move quickly when I'm present, but sometimes it's hard for me because I just want to take everything in. I want to take in every butterfly, every dragonfly. I want to take in my salt lamp and just feeling every single heartbeat. In my summer of sadness, the reason I got drunk and high a lot is because it also brought me to immediate presence in a way, right? For sure, drugs, alcohol, sometimes certain foods, they can become escapism to feel the present moment. But that for me wasn't true presence. It was masked presence or like very surface level presence. Now when I feel present, I feel so like me. And I struggle with how present I want to be in my day. Sometimes I'm like, I feel like I could spend a week just sitting in the backyard and looking up at the sky and not doing anything. And that is not always a reality, right? We have jobs, we have responsibilities, and I get that. So I've really tried to lace in my presence with whatever I'm doing, especially if I don't want to be doing it. I always say, if you're in a situation where you don't like what you're doing, you have two options: change it or accept it. Anything else is insanity. Maybe I got that from The Power of Now. I don't really know. I can't remember. But I've been saying that for years now. And I truly live by that. It's why I push my comfort zone so much. It's why I like doing things that physically push my comfort zone. Because if I can stay present in that, I can stay present in day-to-day life when my emotions get hit with things and I'm triggered, or I'm just having a day where my mental thoughts are like all over the place. Because here's the thing. The thoughts, the emotions are never going to go away. The point isn't to judge them or label them as bad. The moment you do that, you've stopped being present. The point is to witness them, right? That's why it's sometimes called the seat of the observer. Observe these things in you. Observe the mental patterns. Observe, for women, I mean, especially at certain points in our hormonal cycle, if you can stay present, if you can stay in the seat of the observer and just witness what your hormones do to you, it's magical. And you can feel the discomfort, you can feel the emotions, you can feel the pain, you can feel the drama, you can feel it all, but it doesn't become you. And it passes through you and then it's gone. So back to what I was saying. If you don't like the present moment, change it or accept it. If you can change it, that's your responsibility. Change the moment. If you cannot change it, accept it. When you can accept it, you bring presence to it. In any discomfort you're feeling, if you can find joy in discomfort, you can find joy and peace in anything. Presence, awareness, the seat of the observer, all these things that are the same to me, they are the key to your peace. And I use the words interchangeably. A lot of people do. Like I said, depending on what thing you're studying, you're going to hear different terminology. Words are the least effective communicator of things like this, of things like presence. Because what you feel and what I feel might be the same thing, but we use different words to explain it. So how do we build the presence muscle? First and foremost, meditation. This is meditation, right? Noticing thoughts. Yes, it would be so wonderful if every single meditation session you got to a place of no mind and you like hit 5D and you like floated off somewhere and had an outer body experience. That doesn't happen to me all the time. Sometimes it's just sitting there and being like, okay, these thoughts are coming and going. But it's being the observer, it's being the witness. Watch your mind. Watch your thoughts. Watch what it says to you. Watch what it says about other people. How quickly it needs to judge and label and put people, events, circumstances into certain boxes. Just observe it. Observe what it does. And observe that you are underneath it all. In that episode, You Are Not Your Mind, I give you an exercise where I say hello, 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 hello in your mind for 15 seconds. Quietly, just in your head, whisper it, shout it. Do you realize that there's a voice saying hello? And do you realize that there is something listening to that voice? That is you. So meditation was for me at least the first avenue into this consciously, like where I really started to become aware of how present and not present I was in my day-to-day life. The other thing you can do is keep some of your energy inside of you. So this is hard for me to explain with words if I'm being real, because again, words, least effective communicator. When I focus on the inside of my body, I get a tingle. Like when I'm present, I get like a beautiful tingle throughout my body, and I can feel the energy inside of me. We are energetic beings. You, me, animals, plants, pretty much everything on this earth is energy. You have energy stores inside of you. The reason why you're so exhausted all the time isn't because your body's tired per se. It's because you're not present and your mind is probably running you. When I'm present, I have endless, boundless energy. I really do. No matter how little I'm sleeping or how much I'm working. If I'm present, if I meditate, if I focus on my inner energy field, that energy is very slow to deplete, if ever. So keep some focus on the inside of your body. Even when you're out in the world, keep yourself rooted in that presence, in that awareness. Another thing that I do is I walk in nature. That's the quickest thing to get me out of my head and into presence, is go walk in nature. I have an episode on the podcast where I talk to a computational neuroscientist, and the science is out. It's a minimum of 20 minutes in nature, device-free a day, that gives us the best health for our brain from a physical perspective, and as human beings, what we need to feel joyful, content, creative, fulfilled. Minimum 20 minutes a day in nature. Nature is wildly healing. So for me, I try to spend as much time in nature every day as I can. The other thing that I always remind myself of is exactly what I said earlier. Be where your feet are. Feel your feet on the ground. Listen to your breath. Take in the space around you wherever you are. Take in the curtains and maybe the people walking by or whatever you see outside your window. Be where your feet are. This is available to you every single day. It's available to you at the DMV. It's available to you in class. It's available to you wherever you go. When you're really present with people, you listen to them. You hear them. more than just the words that they're saying, you hear everything underneath it. And it makes your relationships, it makes life so much fuller because you're not just skimming the surface with other people, and you're not just skimming the surface with life. You can't get presence from your mind. Your mind can't understand what it is to be present. That's why it shuts off. Presence is underneath it all. Another thing I do is breath work. So breath work is a series of exercises that manipulate your breath and conscious breathing. That brings me to presence. Especially if I'm spiraling, I'll do some breath work. And sometimes like the thoughts get louder and louder and louder and louder. And then finally they shut off. And I live in the tingle and I am so calm and there's so much peace. And sometimes there's an emotional release that has to happen before that, depending on the situation, the event, whatever's going on in my life. But breath work is a physical thing that really gets me out of my head. I think presence is what life is about. And for me, gratitude is the immediate thing that drops me into the present, into the moment of now. If you can be grateful for the moment right now in front of you, you are present to your life. All right, I'm going to leave it there because I could talk in circles about presence all day. But again, it is so personal to you. So I hope it just inspired something and triggered something in you to explore it, to start sitting in the seat of the observer, to start building that awareness, and to start really being present to your life. Because here's the thing, life is short. People who aren't present are usually people who wake up one day at a certain age and ask themselves where their life went. I can tell you this, I don't have that. I live every day to the fullest. And not even, oh, I travel and I do this. No, I live every day to the fullest because I try to spend as much of every day and as much presence as I can. When you're aware, when you're present, you show up. And that's a really beautiful thing. So, I hope you find your presence today. Thank you. This whole episode is my gratitude today. And my gratitude is just dropping me more and more into presence. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, we shall chat next week. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you liked what you heard, hit that subscribe button and maybe send it to someone who you think might need to hear today's message. And let me know how everything's sitting. Leave me a rating and a review and let me know what's resonating with you. What do you want to hear more of? What's your favorite episode and why? And I hope you find your way back here to another episode, another time, as we keep exploring this beautiful and wild thing that we all call life.